Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for episode 2 of Chats with Brown Skin Lovin. Listen, I'm so excited about this episode because we have a very special lady on today, Miss Shonobe Morgan. Before I do an introduction on her, I just want to say, first of all, okay, I have a lot of guy friends who always complain that there are not any good girls out there, that they're struggling finding a girl. Fellas, she's single, okay? Shoot your shot. I don't want to hear any complaints about you don't find any good women. Listen, shoot your shot. Stop complaining and shoot your shot. But don't come to her if you're not serious and playing games. Don't do it. Don't do it. But anyway, Miss Shonobe, I've actually known Shonobe since elementary school. So we've known each other for a minute. But I have truly enjoyed just seeing her evolve into the woman who she is today. Shonobe is an author. She's pursuing mental health counseling, correct? You're pursuing a degree in counseling right now?
Yes, I am.
And she is killing it. She's on her fitness game. She's on her celibacy game. And we're just going to talk about all of that eventually. But I just wanted to give a little brief intro about her, just so you know what you're about to receive from her. Shonobe, do you have anything you want to say to the people?
No, I'm ready. Let's tackle this huge topic that no one wants to talk about. I have a lot of questions, but they're afraid to ask those certain questions. So you did a great introduction. I'm ready.
All right. Okay. First things first. So I'm like a definitions person, right? So when I was thinking about this topic, obviously I came up with like stuff we could talk about. But I was reviewing my notes, right, before we got started, and I was like, dang, I didn't even put the definition of what celibacy is. So I just want to say God gave me so much revelation when I was just defining what the term is, and I'll explain. Okay. So celibacy in the dictionary is defined as a noun, right? So we learn in grade school a noun is a person, place, or thing, right? So the definition of celibacy, it says the state of abstaining from marriage and sexual relations, right? Now, I realized when I used to talk about celibacy, I discussed it as if it were an adjective. So an adjective is a word or phrase naming an attribute grammatically related to a noun, aka an adjective is a word that describes something. So I was using celibacy as a way to describe who I was or what I was doing. I wasn't looking at it as an act or a noun or a thing. And so for me, I was looking at it like Andrea is a noun and celibacy is an adjective. I'm celibate in this season of my life because I'm single, but it wasn't an official decision that I had made. It was just something I happened to be doing at that moment. Right. And so it would never stick. I would do it and say, okay, I'm celibate because I'm single. But then when I got into a relationship, it was like, okay, all that went out the door. So I think sometimes when we think about how we define celibacy within ourselves, we have to think about it like, okay, are you celibate in the sense of this is just who you are in this season? Or has this been a decision that you have made and that you are planning on sticking with it? So for me, God gave me revelation in terms of like, it's not an adjective, boo. If you're going to do this thing, you got to do it. And you have to have the right people around you to support you in it so that you are consistent with it. So I know we just got into the definition of it, but so many people have different interpretations of what it means. I've heard people say, oh, celibacy is just not having actual physical intercourse, but you could do everything else. I've also had people say, okay, being celibate is in your mind too. Like, so there's so many interpretations of it. So I just wanted to get your feedback. What do you define it as?
So over the time of 2.5 years, my definition has changed. Initially, it was, hey, I want to stop having sex because it was once something that I was addicted to. How can I kind of abstain from this to kind of get where I need to go and to heal from certain things? That's what it was initially. Parts of that is still intact, far as not having sex till marriage, but now it's just a deeper level of it. So when I think about celibacy, I think of this term that's not just mere sex. is not just sexual intercourse.
Mm-hmm.
It is abstaining from all things until I heal from certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So once I was able to tackle sexual intercourse, okay, I'm kind of over that. It's been 2.5 years. It's whatever. My therapist once said, Shonobe, when are you going to start being celibate for real?
Yes.
Because it stopped being just a sexual act. It start being, when are you going to start being celibate with your attitude, your behavior, your negative thoughts, the ways you treat people? So celibacy is not, for me in my life, celibacy needed to be introduced because I needed to break away from sexual intercourse with just anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But celibacy is something that for me, God pulled in that area of, Shonobe, I need you to stop having sex so that I can show you some other things about yourself. In someone else's life that don't deal with struggles with sex, celibacy can look completely different.
Right.
So I think in everybody's lives, it's pulling back from something to be launched in a different area. To tap into purpose. It's not just about the sexual intercourse part. That's just, to me, like I said, 2.5 years in, that's just the basis of it.
Right.
Of, hey, man, you're not having sex. No, I'm not having sex, and this is my way of life. And until somebody come in and is willing to change my name, I'm not having sex. I don't care if I'm dating or if I'm single. I'm not having sex. And so it allows me to tap, like I said, it allows me to tap into a deeper part of me, of different things that I need to be celibate from. I define it as being cleansed, purification. It's allowing God to prune you, but not sexually, mentally, your certain ways, physically, mentally, emotionally. It is a complete cleanse, not just sex. Sex is just third grade of thinking about it. Once you accomplish that, you're able to get into like the deeper levels of, no, I'm really going through a cleansing in a healing process. So that's
definitely. And I agree with you. And especially like when you speak to like the different levels of celibacy, because, okay, so let's be real. There are people who are cutting corners, right? So for instance, they may not be having sexual intercourse, but they're doing other things. Maybe they're engaging in porn. Maybe they're masturbating. Maybe they're overeating. Like there's so many things like that we can be doing in terms of not being celibate. And it's kind of like playing with fire. You know, it's like, oh, I'm not doing this, but let me kind of dip my foot in this area just to fulfill that urge or that desire, which is, you know, in a way, it's ruining your ability to be disciplined, right? So there are people who say, you know, what's so bad about masturbating if I'm not actually having sex? Or what's so bad about watching porn if I'm not actually having sex? So is it bad in your opinion? Like if people are saying, okay, well, at least I'm not doing the physical act. Everything, eventually, you know, everything will come together for me, but at least I'm not doing the physical act, but I need to do something, you know, in the meantime. What do you think about that?
Okay. I think what you feed, it grow. What you feed your senses. What do you feed? What you're looking at, what you're listening to, the people that you're surrounded around. So if I'm on a journey to this self-healing and I'm not trying to have sex, if I don't want to have sex, I'm going to be cautious of what I'm looking at. And so, yeah, you're not. So take this for an example. If I am doing a fast I did a fast once from no meat, right? I didn't want to eat no meat for like 30 days. When I took away the meat, I started eating ice cream every day. So even though I wasn't eating meat, it doesn't say, oh, wow, I'm not eating meat. I'm still eating ice cream. So if you don't substitute something for something positive, then it's like, what are you doing it for? You're missing the benefit. You're missing the health benefit of it. So just because you're not having actual sex, that doesn't mean, oh, I can masturbate or watch porn. And to be honest and to be transparent, if it's not like, if I can't do it, I'm not gonna do it. Like I don't want why play around when I've been abstaining for so long. I don't want to watch nobody do it either. So it's like I don't want to be lustfully sinning. Let me just make sure that my thoughts are one accord. Let me make sure that my thoughts and what I'm trying to do is aligned with what the things that I'm trying to accomplish. I don't want to tamper with my thoughts. I don't want to be, I don't want my vision to be cluttered. But the things that you feed yourself, if you're not cautious of it, your vision is cluttered. I don't want it to be where when I'm dreaming or when I'm thinking about, I can't get my thoughts right because I'm not feeding myself positive things. Right. So masturbating, no. Playing with, like, no. This for me, it's not. Now, I do feel like on your celibacy journey, it's a journey. So that's not to say if you've done it once on your celibacy journey, you're going to go to hell or God is mad at you. No, it's not about that. I think that if I'm going to make this decision to be celibate, I kind of want to do the behavior of what's going to keep me on track versus I'm just all over the place. I'm watching porn. I'm allowing people to play with me. No, you setting yourself up for failure. And whoever think they can do it and get away with it, yeah, you think you'd be okay for a while, and then it leads you back. It's like you're in circles. So I would stay away from it just to stay on track.
Absolutely. Oh, when you were just speaking, it made me think, and I had to look up the scripture real quick. So there's a verse about that. Like when you get rid of one thing, you gotta and you clean house. If you don't fill that open space up with something positive, more stuff comes back. It's talking about spirits in this particular verse. It's Matthew 12, I believe. And it was just talking about how when you get rid of something that you're struggling with, if you don't refill that open space with something positive, in this verse, it says 7 spirits returned that were more worse than the ones that were previously there. So I know for me personally, and this is a recent journey for me, when I decided to make the decision, not the adjective version, but the noun version, the decision to be celibate, what I replaced with that open space was fitness and taking better care of myself and like eating healthier. That was my substitute to fill that void. So I wasn't so focused on, dang, I haven't had sex in this amount of time. Instead, it became, okay, what's on the schedule for the gym today? So if you don't replace that activity that you used to do with something more positive, you're going to be struggling. You're going to be thinking about it. You're going to have urges and desires. And for me personally, I've been married before. So it's kind of like going from being single to being married to being single again. It's like, it's not easy to turn on and off that light switch in you to say, okay, I used to have all the access I wanted and now I'm not doing anything. Right. Like, I feel like a lot of times when we see different content about this topic, we're not real about a woman's struggle, it's almost made to seem like women have no sexual desires, women have no struggles with not having sex. It's almost as if we just don't desire sex, period. But that's not the case for some of us. And so when you take away that desire, or when you have that desire as a woman and all you see are other women who are, oh, celibacy is fine for me. It's not a problem. I handle it very well. Like, for me, that's not real. That's not my reality. Yeah. So for me, I knew I had to find something to do to replace the previous activity I was involved with. And so I will say this, and I'm guilty of this. There is this test drive mindset, right? It's like, okay, if I'm going to be with someone, I need to test them out to see if they're going to be good enough, right? Because God forbid you wait all this time, right? And you get married and the sex is whack. I feel like that is a common fear for a lot of people. And a lot of people feel like having sex is just a automatic part of being in a relationship, right? And I used to have that mentality, like, I at least want to know because I don't want to get caught up in a situation where it's whack, right? So what are your thoughts on that? Have you ever felt that way yourself? Do you have friends because I still have friends to this day who are like, I could never be celibate because I need to know. Like, what do you think about that?
I think it's normal to want to test drive. When you go to the car lot, who don't want to test drive the car?
Right.
Um,
Right.
but like I say, celibacy is so many different layers to celibacy that I always make this joke, like when people are like, Shonobe, what if it's not good? What if it's not big? Like, what do you think? And I'm like, God know not to try me like that. Like God, I already made requests to God, and I don't feel like He gonna try me like that. But so you have an option. Would you rather be with somebody and you two are equally yoked?
Yes.
And that's the person that God has for you? Or do you rather be with somebody and he dropped his drawers and his pride is big and he know how to have sex and that's it? So when I'm thinking about my husband, I'm not just thinking about sex. I think about the other things that we've built on a mental level, us being able to pour into each other, us being equally meshed, us being equally yoked, him being able to grow as a man, I'm being able to grow and evolve as a woman, and us coming together. And I think when that's A1, the sex will be A1, because intimacy is not just sex. It is a spiritual connection that we have formed. And I'm a whole vibe. So if I'm a whole vibe and he a whole vibe together, I think it's gonna be so much more. Oh, like it's gonna be a different high.
Right.
Than just let me test drive to see if it's big. Because I think like sex before the time clutters things. So I don't want it to be where I'm just I'm just so distracted by the size or the boat and the motion of the ocean that my vision is cluttered and I'm not seeing what God wants me to see. Shonobe,
Right.
he's destruction. Shonobe, that's a detour. Shonobe, you don't need to be with him. And when sex is involved, something could have been shown in you day one, but now you can't see it because you allowed sex to be a factor.
Yeah.
I've had a relationship where sex was not in the picture at all for 7 months. And that was the strongest relationship I've ever in my life had. And I've been in relationships for 5 years. But the reason why I was so strong, because we pulled from a different strength. We pulled from, if we're going through it or if we argue, let's talk it out. It was a different respect level. It was just different. We built something versus, oh, his sex so good, so I'm gonna just go back just to have sex. Or we get into an argument, let's just break up to make, like, no, like, bump the test driving. I don't want to test, like, I can test drive all day. At the end of the day, how many people how many people you gonna test drive? That could be 10, 15 people. But you throw it off, your body count going up, because at the end of the day, like, you finna have sex with 20 people before you get to the right guy? No. Why would I have my husband really gonna be mad at me because I'm gonna just be like a loose goose? No, I need to be focused. I need to be making sure that I'm building me during this time. That's why I say celibacy is not just no sex. It is a season that you go through where God is causing you to really be celibate, healing from certain things, a purification of your body, not just sex, but from things that can't go where He's taking you. So it's a lot of pros to this journey.
Yes. And so you touched on something that I want to also talk about. Okay, so I think the beginning of our conversation has been more spiritual, right? And because sex is a spiritual act, it is a spiritual connection with another being. But I want to look at it through a different lens, like a mental health lens and an overall physical wellness lens, right? So if we're consistently test driving every person we date, right? You are in school pursuing mental health counseling. So I want your opinion and your feedback. How do you think over time test driving every partner we date is going to impact us physically, mentally? We talked about spiritually already, but what do you think will eventually happen to a person?
Oh my gosh. So I can only talk about from experience. Growing up, my coping mechanism was sex. I use sex for everything. And it wasn't like just 100 million people at the same time, but I moved from relationships so much to where sex was everything to me. That was my drug. It was my alcohol. That's what it was. And over time, I picked up so many things from so many people, not STDs. I'm just saying like their ways, their behavior, just things that wasn't like me. I could literally be around certain people and I can go around my mom and she's like, I know you've been around him. It's such a soul tie. It's like a soul tie that's created. And so, of course, it's not just spiritual, but mostly everything is spiritual. But when it comes down to mentally and just physically, I don't allow, and today, I don't allow anybody to come to my house. It's for a reason. This is my personal space.
Yeah.
If you allow anybody to come to your house, it's like it's too much tampering going on. Like, I want to be in a place where I am clear-headed completely. Bump spiritually, just mentally. I want to be cautious of the people that I have around me, especially to the point where we're having sex. I don't want to be just having sex with anybody. You don't know, you just don't know what you're dealing with. Like, people come with so much more other than just, oh, he looks nice, or he has this or he has that. I had to get to a point where celibacy wasn't something that I just thought about. It was like forced on me, because if I didn't become celibate, I would have lost it. I was really moving from guy to guy to guy, and it was like I got tired of it. It was so draining, because like every guy I would get with, I would be left with it seemed like I was baggage. I was like just drained, baggage down. I just can't. So just being protective over my space, whether that's my body, whether that's my house, my office. I don't allow anybody to just come into my circle. I don't allow anybody to just come and be inside of me. No, no.
Yeah, I feel you on that, because for me personally, so I started having sex later in the game. I was like in college, like 21, 22. And so when I opened that door, I realized the power of being blinded when you're engaging with someone and having sex with someone, because things that you normally would not do, you do because of those soul ties and things like that. But at the same time, like you stop making wise decisions. You stop thinking about yourself and your well-being, and you just think about pleasure. What can I get from this person? What can I give to them? And you're not thinking long-term, like, will I even be with this person in the next year or so? You know, like, are they even worthy of my body, my mind, my everything? Like, are they even worthy? And half the time they're not. And so I know for me, when I started, I would be seeking intimacy. That's what I wanted at the time. But the only way that I knew how to get that was through sex. And so for me, it was like, okay, I know I can get what it is I'm craving if I do this. And that's what I did. And so I just kind of want to talk about, I think a lot of people are a little confused, because they think they're craving sex, but they're really craving intimacy.
Right.
So I just want to talk about some ways we can show and receive intimacy without being physical. So what are some suggestions you have? I know for me personally, it's just physically being in the same space as a person is intimacy for me, having long conversations, just traveling, whatever the case may be. But what do you think are some other options besides just physical?
In a relationship, I think intimacy can definitely be just, I agree, time shared.
Yeah.
So just being, of course you have that with celibacy, you have to have those boundaries. But once we create in a relationship, once we create those boundaries, I think we can still spend time together. Understanding each other's love language. is an important factor for me. I know that if I'm dating a guy that physical touch is his biggest thing, and for me it's just words of affirmation, or I don't know, spending time with one another, or gifts. So that's
Yeah.
another way that you can figure out, like, okay, other than sex, or other than funneling with each other, how can we become intimate? And I think we can become intimate by understanding each other love language and tapping into that. Now, when it comes down to physical touch, if you're intimate, I mean, if you're celibate, then it won't be that doing too much, but still allowing that person to feel loved.
Yeah.
But also where it's, I'm not breaking what I got going on. And him being celibate, he's not sacrificing what he has going on, but we're both showing each other love. We're both supporting each other. If I have a speaking engagement, I want him to be there. If he has one, I'm at his stuff. But pulling on each other in a way that we can evolve, we can build a brand, we can build a business, we can build an empire. It's different ways that we can be intimate other than just sex.
Yes.
It's just so much bigger than sex. Is the thing for, we don't walk down the aisle, honeymoon, and that's it. Once it's done before time, that's when all the drama comes. So intimacy it can be done in other ways. What's your love language? Let's read this book. Let's read different Bible plans. Let's help each other grow. I know in my last relationship, we did Bible plans. And if I struggle with something and he struggled, that's another thing. Helping each other heal. When sex come in, it's like everything is like delayed. He had issues, I had issues. So this month I want to focus on anger. Let's read Bible plans focused on anger. This month I want to talk about low self-esteem. I'm dealing with low self-esteem. Let's read books on, like, how can we be attractive mentally? It's just so many other ways other than just mere 5-10 minutes of sex.
Right.
How you think.
Right.
If something happened or me and you break up, are you that person that guilt trip me and want to go jump off a bridge? Or can you sustain yourself and still come back to me three days later on some, hey, Shonobe, let's talk.
Yes.
This is what's happened. I didn't like it, and move forward. How can we communicate? It's just so many different levels of intimacy other than just sex.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you mentioned a couple of safeguards to kind of set boundaries. You mentioned you don't allow people to come to your house, which I do the same thing. In terms of physical touch, being mindful of the person's struggles or challenges. Can you name a couple other safeguards that have helped you kind of stay on track?
So if I allowed someone to come to my house, it would have to be like a dinner, like other people are here.
Okay.
So that's one thing I learned, to be around, and everybody don't have to be celibate, but you just want it to be where other people are around and you're just not left just you and him late night.
Yeah.
If you set yourself up, listen, I set myself up a lot just because in the beginning I was celibate for a long time. I mean, in the beginning I was single for a long time, which made it a little easier. Just because I didn't have a snack sitting by me or a whole care package right there.
Right.
And so it was a lot easier.
Yeah.
When the guy came in my life, it was like, wait a minute, I'm not ready. And I used to be like nervous, like, I'm not ready. And I would get frustrated and sexually frustrated. And I'm just like, what am I going to do? And so I learned that the over my house thing, if it's people over here, then it's cool. And set a time on it. If this guy needs to leave at 8 o'clock, it might sound early, but make him go home. Just because it'll make it easier and you won't be sexually frustrated like how I was. Remember, I was an addict to sex, and now I'm talking about celibacy. That's unheard of. And so, but it helped me with, hey, you got to go home. It's 8 o'clock. Another thing that helped me was making out. So making out became sex for me. I could make out and really feel like I had sex. because my makeout sessions, of course, for it being two at that time, probably going on 2 years,
Yep.
it was like, this is where I get off. Like
Yeah.
this is my orgasm, I guess.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
I kiss
Talk
him,
about
or
it.
listen, like I would kiss my ex-boyfriend for literally, we would kiss for like 4 hours
Yeah.
straight. And that's what became sex for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where I learned that sex was not just intercourse. I started using other things as my sex. And that's how I knew I needed to create boundaries. And so that's another thing, like limiting your makeout sessions. Don't let it be 4 hours, like, because that will be your new distraction.
Yeah.
The enemy will know that it doesn't even have to go to sexual intercourse, because you ain't gonna let it go there, but you still allowing it where you're being distracted.
Yes.
Another thing for me was being careful of what I watch and listen to. I love Drake. I love all of his concerts.
Yes.
Got it. Look like Drake. He can get my number. But Drake has a lot of songs that speak to things that I want to die off.
Yeah.
And so being very cautious of what you're listening to and not letting it be a love-making song to the point when you turn it off, you're looking in your phone like, dang, who I'm finna call?
Right.
Right.
And
so it's not just Drake, because I love Drake, but just being cautious of what you're listening to, just because that feed, whatever you feed, it grow. Yeah. And the last thing I would say is, let's see, watching what you listen to, of course, watching what you see on TV. I don't know, just being grounded. You don't want it to be where you just, I know what I was going to say. Drinking.
Talk about it.
Which is something, and I'm not a drinker, but I like, if I go, like, I'm an occasional drinker. So if I go to a wedding, I might have a glass of wine, or just some every now and then. But my every now and then gets me frustrated every time.
Yep.
And so being self-aware, celibacy has taught me this. Being self-aware, therapy has as well, but being self-aware and knowing your triggers. What is it that's going to make you want to have sex? Like, what is it? Is it when you wear white pants? Don't do it. For me, when I have a drink, I want to have sex. Then, right there, I might not have nobody to have sex with, but I'm going to go on my phone and I'm going to text old people.
Yep.
And so it's like, Shonobe, you got to stop drinking occasional, non-occasional. Stop. It has to stop. And so that's something that I'm working on now, even though it could be once every 5 months. It's just something that it puts me in a vulnerable place. So you just want to make sure that whatever, as it relates to boundaries, whatever puts you in a vulnerable place, don't tamper with it.
Absolutely. I know I have attempted all of those that you just said. And I know another thing for me is, if I'm attracted to a certain guy, like, he doesn't need to touch me in certain places. Like, you know how some guys want to grab you on your waist or grab your arm and stuff like that. I'd be like, nah, don't touch me, because that will then trigger thoughts to go somewhere else. Somewhere far away. Drinking definitely is one for me too. Oh gosh. Certain things that guys wear, I'd be like, can you go put a shirt on? Can you go put different pants on? Because I'm seeing a little bit too.
Yeah.
So I be having to tell them sometimes, because yes, you are tempted to go back in time and scroll through and see who you could call up. Because this is the thing. The enemy knows what has worked in the past, right? So he knows you used to call up Johnny or Jake back in the day when, and he knows that if you call them, they will always be down for whatever. So
Oh yeah.
he will put those people into your mind and be like, why don't you call up this person? They could come
Mm-hmm.
over. And so you have to also safeguard your mind. So everything you said, I agree with. But something I did want to say before we get to like the last question is this whole conversation is not to shame or dog anybody who has made the decision to have sex. We are simply sharing what is working for us
Yeah.
and why we decided to make this decision. So this is not to condemn anybody or put anybody down if they don't feel they need to be celibate. That's totally fine. We have free will. At the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day, we can do what it is we want to do. We're adults here. I hope these are only adults watching this, but
Right.
we are adults. We have free will. So I don't want you to receive this as, oh, we're pointing the finger. No, 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 no. Because if you only knew
Right.
what
Right.
we came out of to where we are now, all of this, as you said, has been a journey. It's been a process, and I'm still processing it myself. So this is not to shame anybody, but okay. So my last question for you is, what has your experience been like with meeting other guys who are willing to be celibate? Has it been a challenge for you? Because I'm gonna tell you, like, I've met a guy. He was great. As soon as I mentioned celibacy, oh, you know what? I don't even know if I could do that. And that was the end of it, right? So I haven't had a good experience with dating guys who are celibate. What has been your experience?
Um. Initially, I was single for a while, and the fact that I tied sex to my identity,
Mm-hmm.
who I can pull, how many guys I can have at the same time, who was running behind me, because that was my identity for so long. When I stopped it, it affected my self-esteem big time, because every time I go out, I don't get no numbers coming. Like I feel like God was like hiding me. And
Mm-hmm.
so now I'm to a place where I'm becoming more confident. The fact that I'm celibate, it's, you like it or not. If you can't respect the fact that I'm celibate,
Mm-hmm.
now that isn't something I'm going to say on the first date. I suspect that my behavior, my character, and how I carry myself will show. This isn't to condemn anybody, because just because sex was my thing, drinking can be somebody else's thing. That can be your
Exactly.
celibacy. Um, Watching certain things can be what God is pulling on with you. So everybody life is so different as it relates to this self-discovery and being in tune with yourself. And so, like I said, with this journey for me, talking to guys, it was like, I am celibate. And it's not something that I'm going to say on the first date, but he's going to know by my behavior that I am celibate.
Right.
Like I said, at first I was single for a while. Then guys started talking to me. And the guys that wean out, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Because I know that you was never there for me in the first place.
Yep.
Let it been 2-3 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to see that.
Mm-hmm.
Because my vision was so cluttered. I
Right.
would have been so fixated on the fact that he got nice clothes and he got a lot of money, and sex would have got involved. And so
Right.
now it's like, hey, if you respect it, you respect it. If not, I'm a quality girl, regardless of sex. Not because of my looks, not because of my education, just my spirit. Everything about me is dope. So
Right.
if you can explore and try to figure that person out, then we can get to the other stuff. But right now, hey, like it or love it. I've had like I said, my last relationship, we were celibate the whole time. This is my first time. 7 months. It was a great relationship. But certain things came about what I couldn't tolerate anymore, because he was just too heavy for where I am.
Mm-hmm.
Just mentally, he was just too heavy for me. And so, like I said, my dating has been a lot slower,
Mm-hmm.
but I think I've been more intentional about my dating.
Yes.
If you want to talk to me, okay. If you don't, I'm okay with that. I'm
Mm.
okay with going to sleep and my phone not ringing at all.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
need my phone to ring at all, because my identity and I'm self-aware to the point where I really don't If a guy come, he come. If he don't, he just don't come. Now that ain't like, I do want to get married. I do want to have kids. But for right now, I'm so in tune in my healing process with therapy and just being in tune to myself and being present, that if a guy come, he come. And he's an addition to my life. He's not, I refuse to allow somebody to be in my present that's subtracting in any way.
Right.
So my dating life has been different, but I'm okay with it. Celibacy has revealed and exposed a lot of things, not just with other men, but it's exposed a lot of things within me that I have to focus on and not just be in a rush, because what you attract what you are, or you attract what you hide. Yeah. So I don't want to be in a place where just because I'm celibate, just because I'm single, I'm just in desperation to be in a relationship. Oh, this guy give me attention, so I'm just going to be with him. No, like, I'm that girl. So whether you give me attention or not, I get attention from myself. God gives me attention. I'm becoming doper. Hey, I don't know. It's just, like I say, it's a journey. This isn't, I didn't wake up and just say, I want to be celibate. I didn't wake up and say, God, I'm ready. I'm perfect. I'm excited. I'm ready for this adventure. No, it's a lot of times when I'm asking God, like, what the heck are you doing? Right. Why do I have to be celibate? I want to have sex every day, all the time.
Hello.
Like, it's so much. What you get on the journey is just so much deeper than 5 minutes of sweating. I don't want to sweat no more. I want to sweat working out. I don't want to sweat from sex no more until that guy comes. Until like, I want to marry you. I'm going to marry you. Okay, let's make those steps.
Right.
Because I've evolved and have something that's more than sex now. It wasn't always like that. It was, my identity was sex. Never, I from the age of 14 to 25, I had never been single. Never. I never had to worry about no sex. I've always had someone. And then when I moved to Atlanta a couple of years later, it was like, no sex. And so, like I said, and then you realize real men are more intrigued by the challenge that you put up.
Yes.
Not having, I'm not every girl. I don't want to have sex. I'm not going to chase you. I still have my flaws, but it's not that. I don't want to do it. So.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I know for me, just as we wrap this up, I know for me, it has taught me discipline. And that is something that I've never been very good at, but I think God had to use this to help me. And once I tackled this, I saw, dang, I'm more strong than I thought I was, like mentally and physically. Because when you're put in a situation where you could do something and you don't do it, that's how I know I've come a long way.
Yeah.
So I definitely see the progression from just making the decision, once again, not the adjective version, but making the decision to remain celibate. Like, once I said, okay, I'm not doing this, I've been able to decline different opportunities. And I used to not be able to do that. I'm just be real. Yeah. So I have loved this conversation. I think it's so it has such a negative connotation to a lot of people. It's like, oh, why would you want to do that? But I think that's because it's very misunderstood and people don't know the why behind why people decide to be celibate. So I'm hoping that this just kind of opened the minds of some people who are very skeptical about it, and there may be people watching this and they still don't agree. And you know what? That's completely fine. This is not to try to persuade you to be celibate. This is not to tell you, oh, you need to stop having sex with your boyfriend. If you feel led to do that, congrats. That's awesome. But if you don't, that's okay too. But this is a personal thing that you have to decide within yourself and what's better for you and your development. But I thank you for just being vulnerable and open about this, because it is a very personal topic.
Oh, it's personal.
It's so personal, but it's so overlooked. Yeah. And there are people who want to do it. They just don't know how. They're not equipped with the right support and feedback. So I do want to encourage everybody watching this, follow both of us, but Shonobe wrote a book called I Am the Evidence.
Yep.
Purchase that book, y'all. I'm so serious. If you go on her Instagram, you have a website as well, right?
Yep, I have a website, Shonobe Morgan. So it's SHONOBE Morgan, MS.com. And it's I Am the Evidence. You can purchase it from our website. And then my Instagram and my social media is the same. It's Shonobe Morgan MS. And so,
and
yep,
I'm gonna link it at the bottom too.
Okay, perfect. Yep, that's perfect. I Am the Evidence. And then this upcoming May 2020, Divorcing Soul Ties is coming out. Where I'm talking about my celibacy journey. But like I say, not to condemn, not to, hey, you should be celibate, but more so the aspect of celibacy is not just no sex. It's whatever, however that looks in your life. Yes. Whatever God is tugging on for you to abstain and go without. So I'm really excited about that project as well.
And say the title one more time.
Divorcing Soul Ties.
All right, y'all heard that. Cop that. You're looking for support. You're looking for a community. You're looking for help. This is it. Stuff like this is it. We're trying to give you that encouragement that you need if this is something that you want to pursue. So definitely follow Shonobe on all her platforms. Purchase both books and check out her website. Definitely support. And we will be back next month around Christmas time for the next episode. So stay tuned for that. And once again, Shonobe, thank you so much for just your honesty, your feedback, everything. I'm so grateful and thankful you were able to be a part of this today. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, y'all.
Bye.